It began in the most ordinary of ways, as most dangerous things do. On the first Monday of the new academic term at a quiet university in Oxfordshire, Evelyn Hart stood at the front of her literature seminar room, unaware that everything she had carefully kept in place was about to shift. She was 33, composed, and respected by her peers for her sharp mind and understated elegance. Her hair, always neatly pinned, gave her the look of someone who had everything under control. But what she did not expect was for a pair of quiet, storm-gray eyes to alter the rhythm of her days. His name was Leo Whitmore, and he was her student. He was 21, older than most undergraduates due to a gap year spent traveling across Europe, and there was something about him that seemed unsettled. While other students buried their noses in laptops or whispered through lectures, Leo listened. He listened with a kind of intensity that unsettled Evelyn. He sat in the third row, never the front, but always met her gaze when she scanned the room. He was quiet, but when he spoke, it was with a depth and eloquence that betrayed his age. The first time he quoted Rilke with flawless pronunciation, something in Evelyn's chest tightened. She told herself it was pride in a promising student. But as the weeks passed, that lie grew thinner. They never shared more than a few words outside of class. He would nod politely when handing in essays, she would offer a brief, professional smile. But there were moments that stretched too long, glances that held too much. Once, she caught him looking at her as if he had discovered a secret he was not ready to share. And once, just once, their fingers brushed as she passed him a marked assignment, and neither of them moved for a second too long. She told herself it meant nothing. It had to mean nothing. Evelyn had always been cautious. She had spent her life building walls and walking within them. Her father had been distant, a man of rules and silence. Her one serious relationship had ended 5 years ago when her then-fiancé accused her of choosing books over people. Since then, she had focused on her work, her students, her quiet routines. She never expected to feel drawn to someone again, and certainly not to someone 11 years younger, whose future was only just beginning. But Leo was not like the others. He began leaving little notes at the end of his essays. Not love notes, not overt. Just thoughts. Observations. Once, he wrote, "Do you ever find that certain lines of poetry feel too honest to say aloud?" Another time, he left a quote from Woolf under his bibliography. Everything in her warned her not to respond. But one evening, after reading his paper on loss in modernist literature, she wrote back. Only a sentence, scribbled in the margin. Some truths are easier written than spoken. The following week, his eyes lingered longer in class. After the lecture, he stayed behind under the pretext of asking about an assignment. But instead, he asked, softly, "Do you write your truths or speak them?" Evelyn paused. "Neither," she said. "I bury them in books." He nodded slowly. "Then perhaps we read the same ones." That night, Evelyn could not sleep. She stared at the ceiling, torn between guilt and curiosity. This could not be happening. She was his tutor. He was her student. There were rules, boundaries, reputations. But her heart no longer obeyed the lines her mind had drawn. Their next interaction shattered what little distance remained between them. The campus was quiet, bathed in golden light after a late autumn rain. Evelyn had stayed late, reviewing course proposals. As she exited the faculty building, she found Leo sitting on the stone bench beneath the old sycamore tree. He looked up as she passed, and something in her stopped. Their eyes met. He stood slowly, as if uncertain whether to speak. "Are you waiting for someone?" she asked, her voice barely audible. "No," he replied. "Just waiting for the courage to say something." She should have walked away. But she did not.
And what is it you want to say?
That I think about you more than I should, he said, without flinching.
There was a silence then, long and trembling.
You should not, she said.
I know, he replied.
She wanted to lecture him, to remind him of consequences and professional ethics. But all she could feel was the raw honesty of his gaze, and how long it had been since someone had looked at her like that. She turned and walked away, her heart pounding, ashamed of the thrill that pulsed through her. In the weeks that followed, they avoided one another.
Leo stopped staying after class. The notes ceased.
Evelyn focused on her work, trying to bury the feeling that something vital had been severed.
But distance only made the ache louder.
She found herself rereading his essays, lingering on the phrases he had used, the way he saw the world.
She told herself it was purely academic. It was not.
It all came to a head in December, during the department's annual poetry reading. Students and faculty gathered in the old chapel, candles flickering against the high, stone walls. Evelyn was there as a supervisor, seated beside the dean. She did not expect Leo to perform, but he did. He stood at the front, paper trembling slightly in his hand, and began to read a poem he had written himself.
It was not about her, but it was.
Every line felt like a confession, veiled in metaphor. It spoke of distance and longing, of quiet afternoons spent pretending not to see someone, of a love that could not be named but refused to be buried. When he finished, the room clapped politely. Evelyn could not move. She could hardly breathe. After the event, she slipped out early, heart pounding in her throat. She made it as far as the old library steps before she heard his voice behind her. You heard it, then? She turned, rain beginning to mist the air.
I did. And? It was beautiful. That was not the answer he had hoped for. His jaw tightened. That poem was for you, Evelyn. She closed her eyes.
Please, do not.
Why not? I'm not asking for anything. I just needed you to know. Her voice cracked. I am your tutor, Leo.
I have a responsibility. Then fail me, he said.
Dismiss me. Do whatever you must. But do not pretend this is only on my side.
She stepped back, shaking her head.
You are young.
You will forget me. Do not patronize me, he said, his voice quiet but firm. You are the only person who sees me without pretending. She wanted to scream, to run, to cry. Instead, she walked away. That night, she packed her things, called the department head, and requested a research sabbatical for the spring.
She claimed it was to finish her book manuscript. The truth was simpler. She was terrified.
Not of Leo's love, but of how deeply she had begun to love him in return.
Time passed.
She went to the coast, rented a cottage, and wrote.
Or tried to.
Most days, she walked.
The sea offered no answers, only silence. She missed his words. His questions.
The way he looked at her like she was more than a title or a role.
For the first time, she realized that love does not ask for permission.
It does not respect boundaries or age or titles. It arrives, sometimes quietly, sometimes inconveniently, but always for a reason.
In the spring, she returned.
Leo had finished his final term.
He was no longer her student.
She found out through a mutual colleague that he had graduated with honors and declined several job offers in London.
She wondered if he had left. Part of her hoped he had.
But one April morning, as she walked across the quadrangle, she saw him. Leaning against the library wall, arms crossed, a familiar notebook in hand.
Their eyes met. No one else existed in that moment.
You came back, he said.
I did. He walked toward her slowly.
I am no longer your student. She smiled, tears stinging her eyes.
I know.
Then may I take you to dinner?
She laughed.
A quiet, fragile sound. Yes, she said. Yes, you may. And in that moment, all the fear, all the rules, all the months of silence dissolved. Because love, when it is real, waits. Not in desperation, but in hope. And sometimes, the bravest thing a person can do is admit that what scares them the most is what their heart has always wanted. If this story moved you, like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more powerful tales of love, longing, and unforgettable choices.